Hi everyone, hey, it's Robert Earl out here in the Eco Ranch out in far west Texas. I hear a comment quite a bit from folks that I thought I'd take about 3, 4, 5 minutes and talk to you about today. The comment is, I wish I could do all those things you do. I just don't know how. Well, I don't either. I'm winging it half the time. And the title of this, if you probably saw it already, is Mistakes. Because I want to show you a whole series of mistakes that I've made that I've kind of covered up with. And that's kind of the thing to do, is you cover up your mistakes or you tear it apart and redo it. I mean, that's the way we do things. That's how we learn. Now, maybe 62 years old is a little bit too old to be learning still, but what would you rather do? Be 62 and still learning, or 62 and waiting to die? Me, I want to keep learning. So, I keep learning. And here's the thing. All this stuff I do, and I see, we run the whole gamut of doing everything from plumbing to fine carpentry. I haven't gotten into fine carpentry yet, but we do everything here at the Eco Ranch, and we do it because of money. I don't have a lot of money, so I have to do it myself. And you can do all the things we do too. You can do the things we do here easily. Anybody can. You just need two things: time and energy. Notice I didn't say money. Time and energy. Americans as a whole completely mismanage their time. We fill it with all sorts of stupidity, and we don't need to. You can make the time. Just start cutting the garbage out of your life. And energy. Now, energy is a personal thing. Take a look at yourself. Are you in shape, out of shape, fat? What's your diet like? You can create the energy. Trust me. If I can do it at this age, you can. But the title of this is Mistakes, because I wanted to address the fact that although I do all this stuff, I make one hell of a lot of mistakes. So let's look at a few of the mistakes. I'll talk to you from behind the camera, and maybe that'll answer some questions, and also maybe put a few people's minds at ease. All right, like I said, the title of this is Mistakes, and I am trying to zoom in, and I don't know if you can see that mistake or not, but take a look at the awning there, which is the roof over for the new hay barn we're building. The upper right-hand corner is 5 1/2 inches higher than the upper left-hand corner. And you notice that? That's a mistake. I'll tell you how I did it in a second. But here's another mistake. Right here, if you look in that corner, right there, you will see that the roof on the hay barn is 5 1/2 inches higher than the roof on the rest of the stable. Now, I don't mean the building that's the roof that's directly above it to the left. I mean to the right. It's 5 1/2 inches. Now, you notice that 5 1/2 inch thing repeated itself. And why is that? Well, I don't build with a blueprint generally. I do a diagram. And what I did was I used 2x6s for my headers, and a 2x6 is 5 1/2 inches. So I made a 5 1/2 inch error here, raising the roof up 5 1/2 inches above the level of the stable. And over here I made another 5 1/2 inch error, raising it up 5 1/2 inches when I shouldn't have. So I got a 10 1/2 inch error total. But you only see each one 5 1/2 and 5 1/2. And if I hadn't showed it to you, you wouldn't have caught on to it. But there it is. And what did I do? Well, I had a choice. I either tore everything apart, which was a lot of work, or just tried to cover it up. Now, it'll cover up because this roof here is going to come all the way across that roof. You won't see that little flare up. But it is an error. You see it's an error. And I'm going to show you another error here. Here we are looking at the other error. Now you can see a little more clearly that 5 1/2 inch difference in the roof height right there. But you see the gutters are in two pieces. There's one piece of the gutter 5 1/2 inches higher than this piece of the gutter, and you look right there. This building is 40 feet long, and I have 4 10-foot sections of gutter. But somehow, and I still don't understand how, somehow I got to be 18 inches short. So I had to fabricate a piece in the middle. That's a mistake. You can't really notice that I fabricated it, but I did. Another error. So there's a whole line of errors just in the stable and the hay barn. And I've got one more yet to show you, and this one is a big one. Hang on. Well, here is my other error, and this is the big one. Look at all of this. This is what's essentially my front yard. All the way there. What is that? What is that? Well, we have a company nearby here that used to produce cat litter. They made this cat litter for Family Dollar, and I really don't know the whole story, and so I'm going to give you pretty close to the something that's accurate, but I may not have everything right. You look at this price at $2. That's why they went out of business. They're trying to bottle up cat litter and sell it in Family Dollar for $2 and make a profit. So anyway, they went broke. Another company came in and bought them out. They're a mining company that mines bentonite clay, and actually, looking from here, if we just go up here and I just take and zoom the heck out of this, somewhere out there in this shakiness that is me holding the camera is a bentonite mine about 5-6 miles away from me, and they actually mine this stuff from there. Well, the owner of the company offered it to me, and I looked at it and said, well, maybe I can build with it. Thought I could lay it down like so, mortar them together, and I would have I'd have these blocks. All I had to do was add water to the clay. You add water to the clay, and it still doesn't make a real good box, a real good brick rather. And to make matters worse, I got seriously injured and wasn't able to touch these for about 3 years. So every one of them was sitting out in this hot Texas sun for 3 years, and what do you think happened? Well, we know what happened. The plastic degraded. Not a one of these is worth building anything with. Every one of them has to be disposed of. So that was a huge mistake. Now, you know, I managed to turn that mistake and the error and the injury that came from working with this stuff into a positive, but still another error. And take a look at the size of this error. I mean, this is a huge error. So the next time you look at me and say, oh, I wish I could do that stuff, yeah, you wish you could spend 3 weeks moving all this stuff on your property only to have to spend 6 months disposing of it. People make mistakes, but I'm going to show you now a way, one way that we're going to deal with this mistake. Well, let me show you how we deal with this mistake. As we build these walls here, you can see I'm actually building 2 walls. Every one of these walls is 2, and that's so I get the thickness. Now these walls here are trying to run around 19 inches thick. So I get the thermal mass to keep them moderated temperature-wise so that I don't have to put a lot of money into heating and a lot of effort into heating. The middle has to be filled with something. You can see I've used garbage, and I was using gravel and rock from the pit that I'm digging out for my sand for the mortar and the cement. Well, an excellent thing to use is the bentonite clay, which is what I've done in here. I've started pouring the bentonite clay in this wall here, which is the hen house that I'm working on, which we're going to do a separate video of, but I'm just filling it up as I go with that. Now over here, this wall, perhaps we get a better view of it this way. This wall here is actually 4 feet thick, and I'm going to actually be putting some tires in this wall, as well as those plastic jars full of bentonite, as well as bentonite. Now that'll give me the thermal mass that I need on my north wall to hold the cool air in. The problem we're going to have in this greenhouse is not going to be heating it, but the problem's going to be cooling it in the summertime to the point where the fruits and vegetables can grow. That coolness is going to come from this thermal wall, so putting the bentonite in here is an excellent choice. But I found something else I want to share with you, and then this video will be over before it gets too long. Well, we're still left with a bunch of bentonite. And what do I do with the bentonite? Well, filling it in was a great idea, but it just you know, it seemed like there had to be more. So we did some research online and found out that there had been some studies done for concrete and mortar using bentonite clay. Now this is sodium bentonite, and there's another type, which is it calcium bentonite? And there's also sodium dentonite, that mine that I showed you a moment ago. That's a sodium dentonite mine, but this is sodium bentonite here. And there were some studies done by some concrete manufacturers to show you what you could do with bentonite. Now, I had been adding some bentonite very tentatively into my mortar mix without any problems. In fact, I think the mortar was doing a little bit better. But I actually read that you can replace 30% of your concrete with, excuse me, I said concrete, and what I meant was cement. You can replace 30% of your cement with bentonite with virtually no loss of structural strength. And also, in terms of using it as a sand or an aggregate, now in my case I have both sand and aggregate, sand for the mortar and sand and aggregate for the concrete mix. Now the concrete mix has to have aggregate in it. Aggregate, of course, is stones in that, but I can replace some of the sand with the bentonite. So I can actually put the bentonite to good use, and the advantage is when the bentonite gets wet, it swells up and it waterproofs or air or seals, in other words, airproofing things. So I can use the bentonite in that way. So I've taken this mistake, which was a pretty big one, and turned it around to something that's actually going to increase my strength and make my my Portland stretch a lot further. And I said increase strength. What I meant was increase my sealing. Gosh, I'm trying to find a word and I can't, and I'm looking right at the camera. The ability to seal all the air infiltration out is what this is going to help. So that's a good use for this mistake. Bottom line is that you don't have to be an expert. You don't have to be a master carpenter. You don't have to be Norm Abrams or Tommy Silva to do this kind of work. You just get out there and do it. The guy who is guaranteed of never reaching his goal is the guy who never starts in that direction. That's just the way it is. You have to start. You have to do something. And as you make mistakes, you either tear it apart and go right back to square one if it's that important, or you try to deal with it, as I've showed you I've done here. And I hope that helps a little bit. And the next time that you look at me doing something or someone else that's just done something that you just right away you think, oh my God, I can't do that. Yes, you can. You can do it. All you have to do is take that first step. As Confucius says, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. And like I like to add to that, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, but the most difficult part of the journey is that single step. I hope it helps you to get out there and take that single step. And if it's in the wrong direction and you've made a mistake, turn around and make that single step in the other direction. You'll get there, and so will the Eco Ranch. Hang in there. Stay watching. I haven't said this to anybody before, but do subscribe to it. I mean, I notice the subscriptions. Till next time, Robert Earl at the Eco Ranch. See you later.